Did anyone see the passing of David Cassidy recently? He's a entertainer and singer, and he was, probably more famous in the 70s, well known. He was in a show in a band called the Partridge Family, if that rings any bells for anybody. So he passed away yesterday, 67 years old, from organ failure or something like that. And, some of you might think, oh, well, 67, that's a good innings. Yeah, that's because you're not close to that number. You know, those of us who are a little closer to that number think, God, he was quite young. I wonder what went wrong. As you'll find out, if you're not close to that now, that seems a really long way away. You just wait. We all thought that. So what caught my eye and my attention was he made a statement. His daughter related that his last statement, his last words were, "So much wasted time. So much wasted time." So that's kind of gave me an idea on some things to read and to explore that idea a little bit. So before speaking, let me take a moment to pay my respects and gratitude to Jagat Guru Siddha Swarupananda, my dear spiritual teacher, and to the Supreme. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Siddha Swarupananda Paramahamsa Iti Namine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So what it reminded me of when I read that was something nice I read from Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, who is my spiritual teacher's teacher. And this is about, he had an essay or an article that was titled, "No Time is a Chronic Disease of the Modern Man." And this excerpt he wrote, "The busy man should try to know as to where he is going." Even that first sentence is enough. The busy man should try to know as to where he is going. This life is but a spot in his longest sojourn, and the sane man should not be busy with a spot only. Nobody says that the body should not be maintained, but everyone should know from the Bhagavad Gita that the body is the outward dress, and the soul, or the Atma, is the real person who puts on the dress. So if the dress is taken care of only, without any care of the real person, it is sheer foolishness and a waste of time. I remember seeing, I know some of you might have seen it as well, it might have been in your Facebook feed, just this first part, the busy man should try to know as to where he is going. There was this video of traffic jam in LA. Has anyone seen that? It was like at night from a helicopter or something like that, and as far as the eye could see, it was just bumper to bumper. I was in LA in the early 90s and for a while, and even then the traffic was insane. You just, it took you, 3 hours to get, about 10 or 15 miles when it was during the busy time. It was just crazy. So it kind of really put it into a perspective. Just people are going everywhere, particularly when you see that kind of time-lapse kind of photography of, of people and cars and things like that moving. You kind of see, how busy people are. And what do they call the M1? They call it the parking lot. You know that? Between Brisbane and the Gold Coast, they call that, it's supposed to be a freeway. If you've ever been there at a busy time, there's nothing free about that way. It's just kind of crazy, bumper to bumper. So there's a lot of people, and a lot of people are going into a lot of places. So where are we going? And why are we going there? These are the questions that the sages, the saintly person, is trying to encourage us to consider. What am I doing in my life? Where am I going? Which, of course, is inseparable from what is my goal. Because, you only go to places which are in connection with what you want to do in life, what your goal, and this is connected to what our goal in life is. Is that understandable? We only go places because it's somehow or other in connection to what we want to do, what we want to achieve, what we want to experience in our life. So I might read that again because I really like it, and there's actually so much more there. When you just read it through once, yeah, that's nice, but when you actually listen to it, if you consider the words that Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami is saying, you'll see how pertinent it is to our life. The busy man should try to know as to where he is going. This life is but a spot in his longest sojourn, and the sane man should not be busy with a spot only. Nobody says that the body should not be maintained, but everyone should know from the Bhagavad Gita that the body is the outward dress and the soul is the real person who puts on the dress. So if the dress is taken care of only, without any care of the real person, it is sheer foolishness and a waste of time. They're fairly gentle but strong words that Bhaktivedanta Swami is using there. Sheer foolishness. Sheer foolishness. That's very graphic, and if we even just consider that idea from it, it is sheer foolishness and a waste of time if all we do is take care of the dress only. I mean, that's very easy to understand when we do consider our clothes. If we bring this idea down to our clothes, if we spend our whole time ironing and cleaning and hanging out and looking at the clothes and spending our whole time focused on our clothes, what do they call it? Obsession, what do they call those things? OCD or something? ACDC, what is it? OCD. No? Obsessive compulsive disorder. Does that understand? I mean, if a person was really just in their whole life, the focus was taking care of their clothes. They might have different clothes in the closet, different kind of shoes, but that was their main focus. They do actually need counseling. They do need help, right? So here, Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami is saying, please understand, this body which you have is but the clothes of you, the real person. Do not spend your whole time simply being concerned about your clothes. And he also, qualifies that. We need to maintain our clothes, just like we need to wash our clothes, we need to take care of them, we need to, stitch them up, we need to darn them, we need to repair them when, they get a bit kind of ragged or a bit holy. So, but don't make that the focus of your life. So similarly, these bodies which we are in are not us. And you see, generalizing, a broad generalization in life and how society is set up is all focused around in some way or other in connection with this clothes which we call our very self, our body. We take it to the gym, we brush its teeth, we toilet it, we feed it, we put gas in it, we spend so much time, we get it massaged, so many things. This is all necessary to keep it running, just like a car. If we use the example of a car, we need to put oil in it, we need to put fuel in it, you need to wash it, you need to take care of it. But do not make it the whole goal of your life, is the message. Be more concerned about the person who is the driver of the car. There was a couple of other quotes that are kind of connected to this idea that Bhaktivedanta Swami is talking about that I will read. In the Holy Bible, it's described that, "For what shall it profit a man if he shall gain the whole world but loses his soul?" Same idea, just put in a different way. And then the American poet Longfellow said, "Trust no future, however pleasant." Trust no future, however pleasant. These are all very good advice for those who are trying to walk a spiritual path, in life. Because we all plan for the future. And you look at most of the planning is in connection with, these bodies which we consider ourselves. But along with those goals that we have and our responsibilities in life, we should not neglect our spiritual life or our spiritual goals. Actually, that quote brings up about trust no future, however pleasant. There's a wisdom story. I think Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami actually told this story as well, about the future, planning for the future, and how, depending on what what that plan is, how it'll turn out. I got to try and remember it here. The story was about a very poor villager, and his way of maintaining his life was to make clay pots. He used to make clay pots and sell them, and he was extremely poor, but he was always hoping for a better future. And this particular time he was sitting there he only had enough of the clay to make one pot. So he was very poor. And in his mind, as he was making the pot, he was thinking, when I make this pot and when I sell this pot, with the money I get from selling that pot, I can buy enough clay to make 2 pots. And then as I make 2 pots and sell those 2 pots, I will get more money and I will be able to make 4 pots. And so on and on, he's thinking, multiplying, he's planning for this future. Ultimately he'll be making hundreds of pots and making so much more money. And then those pots will be able to hire people to help make the pots so that the business will grow so much. And he will have so much income that he will actually become very rich. This was his plan. And he's thinking, when I am able to make thousands of pots, I will be very rich. And I'm rich and influential, I will be able to tell people what to do. And if they don't do it, I will simply kick them. And he kicked the pot that he just made and smashed it. So the future, do not trust any future, no matter how pleasant. Because actually all of our plans and all of our achievements will be like that pot. Even if you had have got the 10,000 pots and become very influential and be the boss, which of course none of us want to be an employee. We want to be the employer to tell other people what to do. But actually at the end of the day, at the end of this sojourn in this body, wearing these clothes, then of course, as we know, death doesn't have a U-Haul trailer. Do you know that? You know what a U-Haul trailer is? It's an American thing, but they have it here as well. You can't take it with you. When death comes along, you cannot take all the stuff. No matter how many we got or how nice it is, of course it all stays behind. So time is very important. So it is foolish to neglect our spiritual life, because what we tend to do is we tend to put it off. We put it off until, and then we kind of fill in the blank. Well, when I get my health together, that's when I'll be able to make time, to put into my spiritual practice, into my regular meditation practice. Right now my health is not very good. It disturbs me when I'm meditating. It makes my meditation very difficult because my health is not so good. So when I get my health together, when I go to this herbalist or this doctor and I get this regime and I'll take this food and I'll have a diet and all of these things I'll put into place, and then gradually over time this will improve my health, and then when my health is improved, then I can find some time for my meditation practice, for my, exploring wisdom, trying to understand, read these sacred texts to enlighten my path, illuminate my path in life. And then, there are other kind of reasons that, we can find, should I say the mind actually is what it is, finds. Oh, I'm single, I'm not partnered, I feel very unsettled and disturbed because I don't have a partner in life. When I find a partner, who is there to support me in life, and I will feel grounded and secure, then I will then find time for my spiritual journey. But of course there are other people who are going, when I get to be separated from my partner, this overbearing, whatever it might be, whenever, fill in the expletives there, partner, then when I'm being not hassled by this really bad partner, then I will have time. And of course, what comes all along with this, when I'm really feeling, my life is not complete because I don't have any children. And when I have children, then once I have the children, I will be more complete, and then I can. And then, of course, like everything in this world, there is a heads and a tails. When my children get older, when they're through the toddler stage, then I will have time. Or then when they become older, and then they become teenagers, and then I will have time. Oh yeah? That's probably the busiest time of your whole life, is when they actually become teenagers, the most distressing time. Or when they leave home, then do you understand what I'm saying? There are so many things that we can put forward, and then all of a sudden, time has moved. This precious time has moved on, and we look back on our life and we see, I remember hearing some survey or something where people who are close to death, the end of the time in this body, this life, and the regrets that people have, and most people did not regret some of the things they did in life. Maybe there's things we do in life, we look back with a mature vision and think, well, that was kind of dumb. That was not a great idea, but it seemed okay at the time. Most of the regrets that people have is not what they have done, it's what they have not done. It's what they have not done. How they, and this is the idea that, David Cassidy's daughter, I forget, she said something about she was going to make that, she didn't say it was going to make that her mantra, but something like that was going to be in her diary every day, what her father said. Too much wasted time, or whatever he said. So, we get it, we have watches to keep time, we have, time management software, and, we're always reminded of time. And this is a good thing, to be reminded of the passing of time. Every rising of the sun and every setting of the sun marks time. And we should be aware that is one more day which has come and gone. It seems just to flow on, we kind of fall into this feeling of it's just one day rolling into the next, right? And it's imperceivable, this change of time. But if you haven't seen a friend for a while, you haven't seen each other for 10 years, particularly once you hit kind of like 30-ish, and a little bit on from that, and you haven't seen them for about 10 years and you see them again, the first thing you notice is how much change they have, the aging of the body. Because time affects everything. Time, it is the time factor, which is why our bodies age. It is due to time. Like the scientists and the health food people are trying to find ways to, to turn back the hands of time, right? If you take this, it will stop the clock, right? Or if you take this, you'll look much, much younger. If you kind of get sandpaper and rub it over your face, it will look much younger because you'll strip away, what do they call them? Peels or something like that. Exfoliation. Then that will remove the marks of time. But actually, it doesn't. And the reason why we struggle against time is because we are timeless. We have no time. We, the self, as Bhaktivedanta Swami is saying there, the real person who you are not your physical body, the ever-changing body. You are not the material mind, which is proposing like that potter. The mind is always putting forward, yes, but, if you do this, if you do that, then this will happen and that will happen. So the mind is constantly interfering with our momentum in our spiritual life, always putting forward objections and reasons not to do it. But actually, when we understand that we are the person who is wearing the clothes, that we are eternal, that we are spiritual in nature, we are a part and parcel of the Supreme Soul, and we are not meant to be in this dimension of time. It is foreign for us to be here. We are not of time. That is why we struggle against it so much. That is why, in the early part of our time in this body, we can't wait for time to speed up. The 12-year-old wants to become 13. They want to be a teenager, right? That's some wonderful mark in time, or if someone's birthday is coming up, or if the family's going on holidays, then the kids ask, well, when is it? Well, it's in 3 months. 2 days later they ask, is it 3 months yet? It seems so slow. Or if something's going to come, you bought something on Amazon, and the kid, it's going to be delivered, and the kid keeps asking, is it, when's it coming? It just seems so long time, and you can't wait for time to speed up. The classic driving somewhere in a holiday in the car, and the kids are bored after about half an hour. When are we going to get there? Are we there yet? They can't wait for time to move on. But it reaches a certain point in our life where time, we want it to stop right there. There's a certain point where we go, this is about right here. Does anyone know what I'm talking about? If you ever remember reaching that point, maybe not yet, it will happen. But it doesn't, it keeps marching on, time marches on. And then it gets on, and we experience the influence of time. So what I was trying to share is, one, is time is precious. And like David Cassidy and like every single person before him, we don't want to get to that point in our life, near our terminal breath, where we look back and wished we had have spent more time in that which is the real treasure, that which is the most important, that which does not rust, that which does not age, that which does not get lost. And that is our spiritual love. That is wisdom and spiritual love. That is actually which does not rust. It does not get old. It is not influenced by time. In fact, we belong in the eternal, timeless dimension with that eternal supreme friend. And it is to cultivate that consciousness. It is to cultivate that awareness. And it is to actually experience that reality of our real spiritual nature and our eternal loving connection with the Supreme and with others. This is actually why we have time. This is the real purpose of the human life, and the time which comes with this human life is to actually become successful spiritually. And just to reiterate what Bhaktivedanta Swami is saying, it does not mean we do not maintain our material life, our material body and its health, and our family, etc. No, but at the very least, put the same amount of time into your spiritual well-being as you're putting into your material responsibilities. Because if you look at it, I did know this one time, but if you look at it, how many hours, even those of us who, are interested in spiritual life and do put time aside for our spiritual practice, out of the whatever there's 144,000 minutes or whatever there is in a week, how many of them do we actually put into our spiritual cultivation and our meditation? Even if it's half an hour a day, even if it's an hour a day, there's a hell of a lot of time that is not, so we should make, what's that saying? Make hay while the sun shines. While our bodies are still healthy. It's going to reach a point in our life where it's going to be very difficult to engage in a formal meditation or spiritual practice. And, we've talked about this in the past, but I've seen, a number of people I've been with when they have passed away, when they've left their body. And, as that end time comes and as the body begins to shut down, the mind also becomes disturbed by everything that's happening. And you're not going to be able to engage, for instance, in mindfulness. You won't be able to simply step back and watch the mind, like a formal meditation like that. What happens is then gradually the person goes inward. They actually go within, the external experiences, the senses shut down, and then where the person is then is whatever their consciousness is. Whatever is the state of our consciousness, that is the world in which we will be sitting and living when we come to that point of, leaving this body. So it's to cultivate that inner life now. Not just, I'm going to say some mantras or something, at that point. No, the body and the mind become very disrupted, disturbed. So we, And the other point, maybe just to finish up, is we still have a misconception that spiritual life is serious. That's not a misconception in and of itself, because it is meant to be a serious part of our life. But it's like, I have to give up fun. I have to give up good stuff to be serious in spiritual life. This is a complete misunderstanding. Real fun, real happiness, real joy, what we are actually, our heart's desire is actually real spiritual life. Because it means we are resituated in our natural condition, which is carefree. Can we say that in our material life, that we are free of care? Or are we careful, full of cares and worries and concerns and worries? So the real nature of the self is carefree, joyous, peace, happiness, enthusiasm, full of motivation, full of purpose and meaning. That is actually spiritual life. So to become resituated in our real self, our real nature, is actually what spiritual life is. And it's something which, when we go to that place within ourself, our whole life changes. And I'll use the word for the better, for the positive. So how do we do that? What's the easiest way to do that? It sounds very deep and very hard. Actually, we're very fortunate. In the yoga teaching, they speak about different times, or what they call yugas. This particular time that we find ourselves in now is called a Kali Yuga. Very long span of time. And it is described as being the most difficult time for everything. It's a struggle. So even spiritual life, meditation, is very difficult, along with everything else that we experience in life. But in this particular time, because it is so difficult, the actual process to engage in, to achieve spiritual perfection, is very, very easy. The harder the age is, the time is, the situation is, the easier the practice is to achieve spiritual perfection. And in this age, the yoga texts say, Harinama, Harinama, Harinama eva kevalo, kalo nasteva, 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 gatyanyata. Harinama. Hari means the supreme. Nama means name. So to chant the holy names, to chant the holy names, to chant the holy names. It's repeated 3 times for emphasis. This is the simplest, the most sublime, it is the most powerful, and is the easiest and the most fun, the most joyous way by which we can have that inward travel. We can have that inner experience. So that's why we have these programs, and you're very welcome to take advantage of it. And we're going to have some more right now. So let us travel internally, that inner journey through the holy names. Thank you very much.